Hello, everybody. It's Melanie Warner here with Defining Moments. Thank you guys so much for being here. I am super excited about our show tonight and our special guest that we have. Just want to make sure I'm looking in the comments here. I see some people are coming in as this is broadcasting live. If you have questions, then you can put them in the comments and we'll be able to answer your questions and engage with you in the show. And I'm going to also put some links in there. You can also find our links in the main page above. And please remember to subscribe. We have a fairly new YouTube channel, so we are building our subscribers, and we really appreciate your support so we can share more of these inspiring stories. So as you guys are coming in, I see some of you coming in, and I see a couple of questions coming in, which is really cool. And I want to just take a second to also remind you that this show is live every Thursday, live at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And again, please make sure you subscribe when you get a chance. We would love to be able to connect with you in several different ways. We put on my fun little ticker thing here. It's amazing how much you can multitask. Okay, so I want to welcome you all again for being here. Thank you so much. And let me go back into my little comments here. Multitasking, and I'm blonde. Okay, so I want to introduce my two guests today. We were in for a real treat. When you hear their stories, first of all, you're going to think, how in the world did these people survive all this stuff? Like, the theme of the show today is really about survival. And some of the stories that you're going to hear might be shocking. Some of them might be inspiring. Some of them you might just go, there is no way this could happen to a human being. And the most important thing I hope that you get out of today is that you learn about resilience and hope. So no matter what's going on in your own lives, we've all been there. And the point of this transparency and us kind of spilling our guts out here and sharing our tea is to help you feel that you're not so alone as you're going through these types of things. So I want to introduce our guest today, Ms. Tanya Hoffman. Tanya, thank you for being here.
Hello.
Hi. And Amber Torres. Welcome, Amber.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of things that we like to share on the show. So I want to start with Tanya, if you wouldn't mind sharing a defining moment in your life.
There's so many, that's what life is about. It's just one continuous, thing that happens after another, right? Besides having full-blown cancer when I was about to turn 30, and being robbed and tied up at my retail store when I was 6 months pregnant, that was just literally a year after the cancer. Those are just times in your life that are horrible, and you get through them. But one of the things that really defined me and where I am now is I was in a grocery store and I saw a rack of cards of all things. And I'm not a big quote person, but that one resonated with me. And it was, a life is not about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself.
Ooh,
And
I love that.
right. Yeah. I was about 39ish. And I was like, all this time, I was like, who's Tanya? Who's Tanya? Where is Tanya? And then all of a sudden I was like, I can create who I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. Now, I was such an introvert. This was the main issue for me forever, is the withdrawal. And I understand why I was that way, because horrible things happen and you kind of withdraw. And I started realizing I had to stand out. I had to get over these issues. And so I wrote down every fear I had, no matter how ridiculous it was. I wish I had kept that page. And that's what I did from 2005 to 2006. I hit every single fear. And there was a couple points that I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this. But I'm so glad that I did, because it did propel me very quickly through life. Because once you start doing it, you realize, oh, that didn't turn out anything that was in my head. It was I got through it. That was awesome. Let's move on.
Well, and I love the fact that you said I can create who I want to become, right? And a lot of times we don't understand when we're going through difficult times that becomes a defining moment. Meaning, it either defines you, refines you, and we wouldn't choose to go through these things. But when we look back at the growth of who we became, right, and some of the most difficult times in our lives, there's no other way to get that growth. My dad always said, you can't get, the only way, the reason they call it experience is because there's no other way to get it. Right. And so
Exactly.
I don't know about y'all, but I think I find it hard to believe that you were an introvert because, your background, tell us a little bit about your background. And for those of you who don't know, was basically uh, the president of the speakers, and it was an International Speakers Club.
Yeah, so I created multiple businesses throughout my life. I had retail stores. I had created a multiple chapter organization, business networking group organization. I sold both of those. And then 2012, I started the Public Speakers Association that went international really, really quickly. And then I sold it right before the pandemic to start Be Connected.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, when you think about it, most people, their biggest fear in life is getting in front of other people and speaking. And this is something that you overcame that too. So they call it the gift of fear or the gift of disappointment, of not getting what you want. Right. And some of those challenges and things that you mentioned, that you earned courage, that you had to face those fears and overcome some of the traumas in order to trust life, to get out of your home, to get out of your head, to get out of your heart, to live your life in a different way, maybe make different choices because you were at a place where your life was threatened and you had to confront that in a very real way. And sometimes the gift of cancer, the gift of trauma, the gift of disappointment can give us something so much greater than we thought we had inside of ourselves. And I can see that growth in just a short time that I've gotten to know you and the powerhouse that you are. I'm so impressed with all that you're doing. And I'm just so pleased that you're here today. And guys, I want to share with y'all some of the things that Tanya's doing. You think about some of the biggest social media platforms out there. We're on one of them, YouTube, right? LinkedIn, Alignable, Twitter, Facebook, of course, Instagram, like all of these started somewhere. They all began with an idea, right? We know the origins of most of these companies. What we don't know is the behind the scenes of what was happening as they were being born, as they were coming to fruition. And Tanya's in this incredible place right now where she's got so much growth happening, and she's taking on LinkedIn and some of these other companies that we've mentioned, and finding the gaps and creating something that is so unique and so different, that I asked her to join us today and share a little bit about that, because some of you have large followings on social media. Some of you, maybe you're just starting out. And if you remember some of the things like Vine and all these other ones, and in even MySpace, remember MySpace, and how they used to be so big and then they just poof, they went away. And sometimes people are buying companies and then shutting them down as competitors. And what happens to all of us who have followers and have a platform? And can you imagine being part of something like LinkedIn before it was LinkedIn, before anybody knew about it, or even finding a social media company that's willing to pay you to build a platform? So I asked her to come not only to share her harrowing experience and her defining moment, but also just share a little bit about her company so that you guys are aware. I want you to be in the know, in the loop, and to know about cutting edge things that are coming into the world and technology, things that are going to improve your life and your business. So I did ask her to share a little bit about that today, and I've got some links I can share with you for those of you that want more information as well. So Tanya, tell us a little bit about, how you got here and what you're working on today.
Yeah, through having all these multiple organizations and then the Public Speakers Association, I started seeing this real need for people to connect with one another. Because I would meet someone like you, Melanie, and I was like, what, you don't know Melanie? How could you not know Melanie? She's amazing. Everyone needs to know Melanie. But then there was that disconnect of, how do I get the world to know who you are? And then about the same time, I got super frustrated with all the social media platforms that I'm on, which I've got large groups. Then things started happening. The shift, you could feel the shift in the social media platforms, the spammers, the trolls, the bots. It's like, I just want to talk to real people. Why is this so difficult? And so I went to my friend who's a Marine and very disciplined and very business oriented and, very stern. And I always go and talk to someone who's completely opposite from me to get their take. And when he was like, I want to do this with you, I'm like, you do? Here we are, Be Connected, 2.5, going on 3 years here soon, out of beta, to taking all of the different platforms, putting them into one so that it's simple, it's uniformal. You can talk to everybody at the same time, not just 5% of your connections.
Yeah,
And
that's the
making the
biggest
impact.
disappointment I think people have when I mean, I have thousands of followers and all I know is like, where were all those people when I was moving? I mean,
Right.
come on. I had to move like 4 times in 18 months when I went through my divorce. It was hell. And I'm like, where are all my friends, my Facebook friends, when I need a truck and I need some muscles? And, it was just like, so, and the thing is, even if you have a big following, when you put something out there on your feed, like only a very small percentage of it is seen because there's so much other content, or they're flooding a market, or they're trying to sell ads in that space. And so a lot of your content as a content creator or somebody that's wanting to share information, so many people, even if they're following you, aren't seeing it. Right. And the same way, if you're emailing, even if they've opted in, sometimes those emails are going to spam. They're not being delivered. So it's like most of you are going, how come I'm trying all these things, just trying to survive, pay my bills, and I can't get my marketing to connect the way it used to?
It's frustrating.
So it's beautiful to see what not only did you identify this is going on, but you took on this huge task of creating this whole new business to business social media platform that's going to solve a lot of the gaps that the other companies are not filling.
Yeah, we
So
really wanted people to be seen, be heard, be found, and organically reach people. So people, if they become an ambassador, their post on the feed shows up to the entire database. I mean, who wouldn't want that kind of organic reach? And so we're doing a lot of things right now, because we can, because we're small enough, but we're picking up a lot of steam. It's that tipping point in the conversations with people to give them the opportunity to be kind of at that forefront so that you could raise your hand and say, hey, look at me, come be part of my group, and really start to hone in on the people that are really looking for you and wanting to collaborate, right?
I love that. And so it just helps you connect with more people. So we have our own group on Be Connected, and I have that in our main chat here, but I'm going to also put that link here in the chat. And sometimes the chat gets a little wonky, like you put some things in there and it doesn't always work. Oh, hey, Drew, I see you there. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And so tell us a little bit more about, so if somebody wants to get started on this platform, they can actually join for free. You can get a free profile and start building your I guess like more of a database. Like, tell us a little bit about what people get if they join or set up their own profile.
Yeah, absolutely. So when they come on, they can post in the chat, the B feed area. They can connect with people. We spent over 7 figures on the connection generator, where you literally just push the button, 6 people pop up, and they are your ideal person to talk to many. So one of the things I learned from my friend who was a billionaire is 2 things: how to monetize what you're already doing, and then also at the same time, how do you not just talk to one person at a time, but you talk to many? That's what speaking is all about.
The one-to-many platform. Hey, everybody needs a billionaire friend and everybody needs a Marine friend. So you are set, girlfriend.
I know, right? I'm very lucky.
So I'm putting some links in the chat here. Now, this one link I'm posting is our group. I don't know if it's going to work. It's so long, this link, y'all. So I apologize if that link just goes crazy there. But I put the other one about starting your profile. So you have an opportunity to click on that, create your own profile, and then I can see you and invite you into our group as well. So tell us a little bit about the difference, because just like LinkedIn and some of the others, you have a free profile, then you have more of like a premium, and there's different benefits to that. And then you have what I know is a really cool opportunity, a lifetime membership.
Yes.
And even an ability for people to actually build a platform and be an equity partner, which was really exciting.
Exactly. Yeah. So the free people get to join groups, they get to watch any of the shows, but we wanted to elevate who people listen to. Unlike some of the other platforms where anybody can do a show, we wanted to elevate people. And so, as an ambassador, which is only $49 a month after a 14-day free trial, you get to start as many groups as you want, both public and private. You could talk to 100% of the people that are in that group. You could post PDFs, pictures, content. It's amazing. You could also go live. So when you go live, we call it Live in the Hive. You actually get to participate where everybody on the platform can register. So everyone sees that you have a show coming up. And then obviously the feed is huge. It's a TikTok, Instagram slant so that you could do short 1-minute videos and it goes out to the entire database. Or it's just a picture like, you would do on Instagram and it goes out to the entire database. So it's an organic reach and it's simple. People can click on your picture and it jumps over to your profile and now they're connected to you. So it's a great way to really connect and start building those connections and with real people. And they're all entrepreneurs. They're all business people.
Well, and I know that, there's a person we talked about that, people would know their name. They're a well-known podcast radio host, and they were worried about getting banned from a certain social media that's known for banning people. And so they said, well, we need a backup plan. And they had, about 1 million followers and decided to build their own group within this company and this organization and the platform, and literally had a really high conversion within a few days of a lot of people that went in to create that group. And because you just really never know. I mean, if some of us are so conditioned to using one social media platform, if something were to happen to it, we'd lose our entire audience base.
Mm-hmm.
So
we see that happening a lot. And so people are taking proactive, being really proactive right now, saying, okay, I'm not leaving those other ones. I'm just adding Be Connected as like you said, a backup. And then transitioning, because we've got a caveat that none of the other social media platforms have. We wanted to partner with these incredible people and we pay. So if you're like, ooh, I've always wanted to get sponsored by a social media platform, well, here you go. I know I've never gotten a check from any of them. So
exactly. And sometimes I get charged when I didn't even pay for anything. Isn't that nice of them? Just when they hack into my account and run my credit card and I didn't even know that I signed up for something.
Sounds about right. I know, because I've used these platforms forever and I always look at what would I want, because it is what I want. So we just created a platform and then we're like, okay, they're making billions a day, but they don't share. And so I'm like, what if we were different? What if we shared? Kind of like the Uber concept, right? Being a disruptor where we partner with people. And so it helps you, it builds you, it gives you a lot of momentum, it keeps you safe, because we do try to keep all of those spammers and trolls out. And then it also at the same time makes you some extra income.
I love that.
And we do have the lifetime opportunity. And so if anyone wants more information on becoming a lifetime member, that comes with a little piece of Be Connected, we could always talk to y'all about that.
Well, and I just stuck my email in there too, because I know some of y'all are going to have some questions. And sometimes when you are on different platforms and you try to put in links, it's all wonky. So you can also email me, melanie@mydefiningmoments.com. And I think the thing I like about this is you can, for what you would pay for the premium membership to be able for everybody to see your stuff, right? Most of us would pay. We're paying more than that to run ads in some of these other platforms. So if you were, it's kind of interesting to think about it, but if you were going to pay what you would pay for the premium membership for a year, right? That it would be like $600 for a year. For the same price, you could have a lifetime membership and you could own half a share of the company. You can buy more shares if you want, but I think it's interesting how we had a couple of our authors, one of them bought a couple of shares. It was she and her husband, it's Leah, right? Leah and her husband are celebrating the anniversary. So she bought both of them each a share as their anniversary gift. I thought, what a cool idea. And someone else has a couple of kids, so they're buying one for each of their kids, for themselves and each of their kids, because it's just passive income that they can make as this thing grows. So imagine being able to be almost like an initial investor in LinkedIn or some of these other platforms that have just become so big, and also being a lifetime member, so you don't have to pay the monthly fees. So I just think it's a cool idea. I love what you're doing. We're really happy with our group, and we're building it up every day as we speak. So if you look at the some of the links here, you're going to find how to enter the group and be part of this. If you want to learn more information about it, feel free to reach out to us. And at the same time, follow what we're doing in our own groups so you can see how we're growing ours. Because guess what? Everybody that has big groups, several thousand or several million, they all had to start with one. So when you start a new platform, guess what? We're all even. We're all on the same playing field. So I have to say, I have more people in my group than Elon Musk.
There you go. There you go. There's a challenge for him.
There you go. So, anyways, especially for business to business, if you're tired of, floundering around on some of these other platforms and not really feeling like you're connecting, or you're getting a lot of spam. I love the fact that, they don't allow nudity. They don't allow like hate speech or bullying. It's funny. We have a couple of people. We have a book we're writing right now for somebody who's pretty famous, and their book's coming out next month, and they were banned from Facebook. This is somebody that's probably going to sell 40,000 copies of their book. But it's like they want to build their own platform. So this is a perfect opportunity for someone like that to be able to create a whole new platform and pick and choose their followers and invite them into a group and be able to put something out, like promote his book, and then every single person in his group will see it on their feed. It doesn't get interrupted. So it can be done really that quickly. You can build it and have it up and running in a matter of like 20 minutes, and then you start to build your audience. You can invite new people in. You can find other people that you like, that you see their stuff and you go, oh, I dig that person, invite them in, or you join their group. So it's a really interesting way to network, and I'm really proud of you and happy that you created this. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a great thing, because a lot of times people are, when I used to do a lot on this platform, that constant interruption of ads and everything, and then redirecting to other people's videos. I'm like, what are you doing? Keep them on mine,
Right.
And we wanted to take all of that distraction away so people can get down and really get to know you and love you. And so I look forward to getting to know everybody that's on today. And of course, if you don't know Melanie, and Amber just seems amazing. So definitely get connected with them.
Well, thank you. We are so excited to be connected, and it's BEE with a K, KONNECTED. In fact, I think I have a little thing here I can put out there. There you go. So I'm going to leave that up. If you want, this is how you can join. You just go to melaniewarner.beeconnected with a K.com. That's how you get your own profile. This you can join for free. And then there's other options if you want the premium, or you want to learn more about getting the shares and the lifetime membership. So would love for you guys to check it out and come join our group so you get to know about all kinds of cool stuff. In fact, a few weeks ago, we were giving an opportunity for some of our clients to go and join me in India in October. I'm speaking to 500,000 people. In fact, that's how Tanya and I connected, because she went, what is that? And they were talking about their event coming up in November as keynote, looking for speakers and all that. So we kind of joined forces there. And I really know her background as a speaker and how much work goes into being a speaker, because you're always traveling, always on the road, always speaking to a lot of people at once and trying to refine your message. So anybody that has that kind of background that's creating a platform really has their feet on the ground of an opportunity to know what the consumers want and need, and knows where the gaps need to be filled for a lot of people like us that are content creators, authors, speakers, entrepreneurs, and all of that crazy bunch. So thank you for being here and for all that you do. I really am grateful. And is there anything else? Yeah, and is there anything else you want to share with our viewers today?
Just make sure you get connected with Melanie and myself on Be Connected. That'd be fun. And like she said, it's free to join. why not?
Absolutely. And also don't forget to subscribe to this channel because we do go live at 5 every Thursday. So you'll get notified when we're live. Some of you might even come on and hang out with us on the show sometime. We'd love to get your feedback. You can post comments. If you have questions for our guests, we can see them in the comments here on all the different social media platforms that we're running on right now. And at the same time, if you want to reach out to us, you can also go to our website, mydefiningmoments.com is our website as well. So thank you again, Tanya, for being here and for all your hard work. We're so excited to be working with you and growing our businesses together. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Bye, everybody.
Absolutely.
Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. All righty. So, and welcome, Amber. Thank you for being here as well. I know you and I have worked together for many years. Some of you may know Amber as my pretty much right hand, more like right hand, left hand, right and left leg, full on support. And it's funny, I think about when we first met, and this premonition that you had, this vision that you had about working with somebody that was going to be doing things like Chicken Soup for the Soul. And like, here we are, all these years later, it's so crazy.
And I came with the Texas to prove it. Look it, I swear. I've been it's just amazing.
I know, that is so funny.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you and your background. And also, if you wouldn't mind sharing one of your defining moments, because I know we're going to be getting into our we have several stories in our book. This is our book here, Defining Moments SOS. It's stories of survival. And this is real people solving real problems. Amber's story is in here. My story is in here. Quite a few other people that shared a story. Some of them you're going to hear about today. And we hope that it inspires you to know that you're never alone in your journey, and gives you a place to just plug in and get support and resources if you're struggling with anything in your life. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But first, I would like to hear a little bit more about your defining moment, Amber.
So my defining moment happened when I was just 14 years old. God, it seems like forever ago. It's like I have to go back in the archives to remember all the details. But which shows when you can't recall something, it shows that you've moved on from the trauma and you're healed. But I was actually kidnapped when I was 14 years old by a stranger, obviously. He basically drove me towards the mountains. At the time, my parents lived as far north as you can go. Everything north of where my parents lived was nothing but field. I live in an agricultural community. So I remember seeing the back of my parents' housing development and thinking like, crap, I'm a goner. And just, he was very vocal about what he planned to do to me and clenched the back of my shirt. And I'll spare you the details, but he just kept on driving. And I remember praying to God and saying, God, please bargaining is one of the 5 steps, right? I was bargaining with God. God, get me out of here. If you get me out of here, I promise I'll serve you for the rest of my life. I'll never do anything wrong again. I won't put myself in these kind of stupid situations. Please get me out of this, Lord. Get me out, please. And it was, I don't know, no sooner than maybe 45 seconds, a minute, we're driving down the road and I look to the opposite side of the street and I see a sheriff just randomly parked on the side of the road. And I just started swerving the steering wheel, honking the horn. I was a soccer player for about 15 years. And at one point I kind of leaned over and tried to kick the window. It didn't do anything. And I just said, let me out, let me out, let me out. And I was just doing anything I could to draw attention to the vehicle. And the thing that really struck me was the man was so calm. Like, I mean, you could tell I was a little nervous, but he wasn't, that I was drawing attention, but he's like, now honey, calm down. Just stop doing that. It's fine. Just stop doing that. And, it was like when something like that happens to you, it's like you're watching a movie, your body really does disassociate, like you go into shock. So I truly felt like I was watching a movie because it was like, boom, the next scene. I just remember seeing like all kinds of flashes. I don't even remember looking in the rearview mirror. Apparently he pulled over. I do remember opening the car door and yelling, "Help me!" and seeing about 4 sheriff cars all parked around. So that guy must have called for backup. And
Wow.
I remember one of the guys was behind the door and they all had their guns drawn. And I just remember I yelled, "Help me!" And the guy goes, "Get in the car." So I got in the car. Like, I barely stuck my head out, but he's like, "Get in the car." So I, of course I got in the car because they didn't know what they were dealing with.
Mhm.
And so, I don't even remember how they called. Like I said, everything was kind of in slow motion. And there's a lot of parts that I actually still don't remember. Like, at one point, the police officer, the sheriff said, I guess there was something wet. I remember the guy holding something in his hand, and there was something I was wearing sweatpants on my pants. And he said, "What's that?" I couldn't even tell you what it was, how it got there. But all that is to say is that eventually I went to court. They saved me from that incident. Eventually I went to court, and the police officer, the sheriff that was there that night, the one that was parked over on the side of the road, actually had to testify. And one of the things that this actually ties into why this moment was such a defining moment for me was that he had said, "I wasn't even supposed to be on that road." He goes, I always, head out that way. He goes, "I never take that road. And for some reason I thought, I'll just go this way instead. I just kind of feel like taking this route." So he took that route, and he wasn't even going to be, he was only stopped because he had forgotten to fill out some paperwork at a call before. And he thought, "You know what? I'm just going to pull over for a second and I'm just going to fill this paperwork now where the details are still in my head." So he pulled over, he was filling out paperwork. Come to find out, at the moment when we were driving by, he had only been there. And this is like, he testified in court that he had only been there for about 2 minutes, and he was only planning on being there. He said, "I probably would have been done in another 3 minutes." He goes, "I'm thinking like a 5 to 6 minute window was the amount of time I was literally parked. I would have been parked, the totality of when I would have been parked on that side of the street." And
so it sounds like a lot of your experience. If you're watching this and you're somebody that finds yourself in that experience, then what advice would you give to somebody if especially young women or young men that are making, like you said, those kind of choices where they think they're with somebody they can trust, or they make a mistake and they get in a car. I mean, I've even had people, like, in younger adults that I know, like, get in a car with somebody that's been drinking, and then they regret it because that person isn't safe drive, and then they don't know what to do, how to get out of it.
Mhm.
So what advice would you give to somebody who finds themselves in that position?
My advice, first and foremost, is find a trusted person to share your location with, just that person, just as a general precautionary measure. My biggest thing is, don't be afraid to be mean, in terms of, don't see you asking questions. If you don't feel comfortable, if you don't fully trust somebody, if someone doesn't have your full trust, do not submit to them, do not go with them. Even, women have this tendency of wanting to be nice and
Oh,
not
we're
be
told
rude.
all our lives, you got to
Yes,
be nice. You
be
got to be
nice.
nice. Be nice.
Mhm.
Don't be mean. And you're right. And for predators, niceness, kindness is weakness,
Yes.
right? And so if you walk faster, if you walk like you're somebody that means business, they won't mess with you. If you're
Yeah.
walking kind of slow, if you look sad, if you look like somebody that is going through something, or you're vulnerable in any way, like, they will flat out target you at times. So
Mhm.
a lot of times your presence, the way you hold yourself, and just being aware of your surroundings can make you
Mhm.
stand out more as somebody that looks more like they could be um, overtaken, controlled, or not be able to fight back, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of people that may have been in similar situations, or and didn't realize that they were walking into it.
Yeah.
And they always think, oh, if they're a predator, they're going to be rough or gruff, or they're going to be like a jerk.
Mhm.
And they're not. The predators are the nicest, friendliest people. And it's crazy how they will lure you in, because if they scare you, you're not going to go with them. So they're going to
Yeah.
come across as really helpful. And, oh, my
Mhm.
brother-in-law has a little mechanic store shop right around the corner. I can give you a ride. And, like, I mean, growing up in Texas, everybody was friendly like that. So it was really hard to tell if they were really being friendly, or they were like, Henry Lee Lucas, and they were a killer, right? That had rigged the inside of their
Yes.
car. So it's like, that's the kind of stuff you want to also be aware of. If trust your instincts in your gut.
That's what I was just going to say. I was going to say, own your space. Own your space. Trust your gut. Look at your body. How is your body responding? I heard a quote one time that says your intuition has already processed. Wait, your intuition has already processed what your rational mind is still trying to comprehend. And so many times you can come across a person and you don't even know why, just their presence just gives you the like that icky, just like you just like you're not repelled, but you're just like you're just, that's the only way, I guess, repelled. You just don't know why you don't want to be around that person, or you just sense this, like, I don't want to say bad energy, but you just are that heebie jeebies, or I don't want to be near that person or whatever. But if you, so many times people say too, when something happened to them, that it looked different, like the house looked different, or something was off and I couldn't pinpoint it, but something was just off.
And you know what's interesting? So this reminds me, when I was a kid, my sister, my older sister, she had gone off to college already, and I have an older brother and sister and a younger sister. And so my mom and I were at this Girl Scouts camp for the weekend, and this was before cell phones. So it was like,
wow.
She wasn't reachable. And I remember my mom kept saying, she had this weird, like, something was bothering her. And she wasn't one to say, hey, something's bothering me. But she just later said she had this weird feeling about my sister, just something gnawing away at her, as a mom radar, I guess.
Yeah.
And my sister was going on a church retreat, and she had met this guy at church, and he asked her if she wanted to ride, and she met him at church. And she was living in like Southern Texas at the time. I'm not kidding, y'all. I didn't make this up. I wish she was on here and she could confirm the story. So she's like driving along, and she's not paying attention to where they're going. And all of a sudden he goes, I need to stop by my house and get something. And they're like in the middle of nowhere, which in Texas, everything's in the middle of nowhere. So he goes in, and she comes into the house. She's sitting on the couch. All of a sudden, all the hairs on her arm rise up, and she turns around, and he's standing behind her holding an axe like this.
Oh my goodness.
About to like take her out. She jumps up and screams and runs into a room, locks the door, and finds a phone in that room, and remembers her friend who's a bouncer at some nightclub. She back then we had to know everybody's phone number, right? So she calls him and tries to explain where she's at. Oh, I turned here or over there, or we're over on this way over here. Somehow, miraculously, this guy found her, right? And was able to come and get her. And like, this guy was still trying to hack away at the door. I don't remember now, she like climbed out the window or whatever. She was able to get away, and they were able to rescue her. And it was a horrifying thing to think about. And when we got back from our camping trip that weekend with the Girl Scouts thing, then my mom heard the whole story and just felt like sick, because like she remembered, feeling this like sense, like this super sense of like something's wrong, something's not right with Sandy. And so it was also one of those things where I think as women, and with our daughters especially, we have to guard our bodies all the time. It's something we wake up in the morning thinking about it, and we go to bed wondering about, is the door locked? Is somebody going to come in? And with men, they don't think about it as much. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, like, it's not something they have to plan their whole day around. Like, are they safe, and can they walk this way to school? Or they have to make sure their keys are out when they walk into the car. It's just you feel like you're always alert and aware and on guard, and it still happens, and you can't just go through life not trusting people. So you really have to trust your gut and your energy. And there's a great book by Gavin DeBecker called The Gift of Fear. And I just love that book, because there's so many things like, where your body is trying to tell you something, or your subconscious. And like you said, it's processing it before you can comprehend it.
Yeah.
And it's trying to send you those signals. So I think that's really, really helpful to just pay attention to your surroundings. And especially now, you meet people online, whether it's dating apps or talking to people, and you have to be very, very careful. Meet them at a public place if you're going to meet them. And at the same time, make sure you give somebody else your location. And it's funny, I have friends that do that all the time. They'll go on dates. They're like, okay, here's where we're going to be. Here's this person's contact info. If I don't come home, call the police. And it's like, it's terrible that as women, we have to think that way. But men are like, hey, I got a date. I'm going to go meet some woman, you know, and they're not
Hopefully
thinking
she
about
comes back to my place, right?
doesn't think of a serial killer. You know, you could be a serial killer, just don't be a smoker. No, I'm just kidding. And it's like, and hopefully they don't live with mom. Then you'll be going back home.
To mom's place.
Yeah.
To the basement of mom's place. No.
So the idea is that, you know, obviously you want to use your common sense and be careful, but this is just one example of like extreme things that have happened. And a couple of things in the book, and I want to talk about this too. Like, this is a book that there's about 40 different stories in here. I would love for y'all to check it out. I put the link in the chat as well. And you know, my story's in here about turning your mess into your message, and how for me the end was the beginning. And I mean, I went through, I can't even tell you what I had to go through to survive some pretty horrific things in my life. And it was almost like one big event that happened that became a catalyst that triggered so many other events. And I just felt for years, I was just trying to come up and breathe, and I would get hit by another wave, and then I would try to stick my head out and I'd get ran over. And, you know, and I was trying so hard to just survive that there were days I just felt like I couldn't breathe. And for me, it was the fact that I was at the hospital. There had been this accident. I didn't know I had about 60 seconds left to live. I was bleeding out like almost all the blood in my body. And at that moment, I was told this is life threatening and you might not make it. And the first thing that went through my mind was, what about my family? What about my community? What about my husband? And I was married back then. And then I thought, what about my laundry? I swear, no joke. And I thought, all the unfinished business. What about my books? I don't want to die with this book in me, because my whole life I had a book that I wanted to write. I didn't know what I was going to write about. I had many books in me, but I didn't know the process. I didn't know what to do. And I'd been thinking about it and wanting to do it for 20 years, but I just didn't know the process. And just something so weird that happened that day is a week before I had found this, I still have it. I found this letter to myself I had written when I was 18 years old. And I had written on there things I want to do before I die. Right. And I found it a week before this incident. And I had written it at 18 in my naive self, thinking, these are some big, hairy, audacious goals, like things I want to do before I die. They're going to take an entire lifetime to do, right? Like write a book, or, you know, build magazines, or all these other things. And do you know that when I looked at that list, I had done every single thing on that list. I marked it off. I looked at it and it said things I want to do before I die, and everything was crossed off. And a week later, when I almost died, I thought, oh, did I manifest this? Because I'm a big believer of that. And I realized, if you have a bucket list, don't call it a bucket list, and don't say things I'm going to do before I die. Just make it a things I want to do, period. Right? Like, you know, your to done list, the things you want to take care of in your life.
Dream or goal list.
I realized that even though I had these big goals, that I reached them all at a younger age, and didn't realize, like, that when I just put them on paper. And what's funny is I forgot that I had written this at 18. And here I had come back, like, I think it was like 15 years later, and I had done it all, and went, I need a bigger list. And so when I was in that moment where I was thinking I'm about to die, and having this very profound spiritual experience that changed my life forever, that made me rethink and look at how I did everything. Like, I went in, and before that I was like very ambitious, and like I'd look over, you know, this from a hotel high up and go, someday I'm going to own this town, you know. And then this happened, and I remember standing in front of the hospital room and looking out the window, and it makes me want to cry thinking about it. And I thought, the last time I looked out a window, I was overlooking all of Hollywood at 18 years old, saying, someday I'm going to own this town, and had this ambition that I wanted to, like, work so much and so hard to give these beautiful stories to people, and be an actor and a producer. And like, I wanted to build platforms that shared stories. That's what I wanted to do. And I thought that was the way to do it. And then I realized, as I stood there in that hospital looking out the window, that was the last time I sat still looking out a window and just looking out the window. And now I looked out and said, someday I'm going to serve this town. And I went from this, you know, very black and white, like type A personality, super ADD, to being this warm and fuzzy person who had this tremendous experience and just changed me from the inside out forever, and just made me care so much more about just making impact, more than just the income, making the impact, changing people's lives, helping other people create those platforms to help them change other people's lives and create impact and make income. And I'll tell you, everything that I lost back then, because that was just step one when I thought I was going to die. You see, what I didn't share in my story is 2 days later, I held my son in my arms as he took his last breath. And it was the most brutal and beautiful. I call it a brutal moment of my life, because I was there full circle when he was born and when he died. And I was lucky to hold him. And he was lucky to be surrounded by the people that love him. Like, we should all go out like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is I shut down so hard because I wasn't prepared. I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't bear that emotional stress. And so, because I shut down and I honestly didn't care if my marriage survived or my business, I didn't care about money, I didn't care about anything. But I had two other kids that I did care about that obviously needed me. And I had to get to this point where I said, my son doesn't need me, but these do. These two do. And there's other people who need me. And I believe that's what made me survive that day, is there was this beautiful vision that was so strong and powerful that was put on my soul that day, of this, all of this, of having these conversations, working with authors, like creating these opportunities for personal and professional development that are really helping people elevate their lives and become a better version of themselves. And if I hadn't gone through that, and what came next, of losing not only my son, but then getting divorced and going through bankruptcy and foreclosure and just shutting down emotionally and physically and financially to where I had nothing, right? I even went through tax audits in tax court, and I had to represent myself in federal tax court. I mean, that was scary. I had to like wake up every day with this horrible thought of like, why do I want to continue? And God, why did you let me live only to have me go through this hell? Right? I mean, knowing where my son is, and knowing that beautiful peace that I felt that day in that transformational moment, why can't I just be with him? Why am I here going through all of this? And I didn't know at the time. I thought I was being buried, but I was being planted for this moment, for everything that I'm doing here. And I also thought, why did God abandon me? But he didn't. I abandoned myself. And I had to learn these tools to rebuild my life in a very short amount of time. And you know that I rebuilt my entire life that had taken 20 years to build, and I did it in less than 2 years. And Amber was part of that growth. I can thank you as my friend and like my sister and coworker, and somebody who's always been there and always had my back. She's seen the growth. I've seen the growth in you, Amber, and where you've come since we met, and where you are, and the things you've had to do to survive, and be that example for your daughter too. And so I just wanted to share those stories with y'all. I know we're going to run out of time here, but there's so many stories like that in this book. If you feel inspired at all by our stories, if you feel your heart connected, if you know somebody who's going through a really terrible time and they just need hope, there's so many resources in this book. Of every person that shared a story shares how they got through it, and tools that they use, and resources that you can instantly plug into. You can even reach out and email them and say, hey, can you help me? Some of them will do a consult for free, like just to walk you through, if you need help, like overcoming something. Like, I'm thinking of the people that have gone through some pretty traumatic things. We have a story in here of somebody who actually jumped out of a plane with a parachute, and the parachute didn't open. Imagine that. And they survived the physical turmoil of having to overcome and re-heal your body. Someone else who went through, this is crazy. He was a pilot, and he lived through a plane crash. The plane crashed into the ocean, and then he almost drowned in the plane crash. And then he had to swim through like shark infested waters to try to get to land and survive with injuries from a plane crash to get to land. I mean, it's insane what people have had to do. And the triumph of the human spirit, to me, is the greatest gift you can give another human being is the gift of hope. So anybody you know that's struggling with some of the things we've talked about today, trauma, PTSD, losing a child, losing a loved one, going through a divorce, a breakup, a heartache, losing money, going through bankruptcy, right? All those things are part of the human condition. And it's not even something that we did to create it or bring it or manifest it. It's just sometimes life just happens to us. But as Tony Robbins, one of my greatest mentors, he says, what if life is happening for you and not to you? And that's one of my favorite quotes of all time, because I can now look back on the dots, and Amber and I, what brought us together is these stories. And, Amber helped, assemble a lot of these stories. She pretty much wrote the book, edited the book, and was just so hands-on in doing all of this, and such a great partner on this book. I know all the people that contributed to story appreciate you, Amber, and everything that you did to make this work as well. Do you want to take a second to share a little bit about your process and what it was like to create this as a multiple author book and work with these authors and help get the stories out of them?
Sure. I mean, it was just an exceptional and enlightening experience. I mean, it's one thing to just be able to ask them questions, pick their brain. I mean, how often do you come across a man that was, attacked by a bear and survived, or flew a plane into the ocean? So just to hear, when you're facing death, it's like, what flashes through your mind? What are you thinking of on your deathbed when you're staring death in the face? So it was just a beautiful, eye-opening experience to just hear these different accounts from different people from all walks of life, and really just what inspires them, what motivates them, what gave them that hope to just keep going and push forward. It was, I mean, even to this day, if I come across somebody at a social networking event that I know from the book, I mean, it's like we're comrade, like we're connected. We're brother and sister. We're sister and sister. I mean, there's just this bond, I guess, is the best way to say it, because I shared their story. I shared their hope. I mean, they shared it, but I helped them through the process. So it was just, they always are like, thank you so much for, I just appreciate you so much. And I'm always like, no, thank you. Like, you have no idea, like, your knowledge, your wisdom, that is a gift to me, because I didn't have to go through being attacked by a bear to learn the lessons. And all of our readers don't either. I mean, they could read the story and
I love that too. And no, okay, here's what happens. And here's exactly what he did to survive that, right? So if you're a hunter, or you're somebody that's even walking, my gosh, I have a house up near Yosemite, and there's bear walking around every day up there. It's kind of crazy right now, There's also some really incredible stories, like Dr. Fobbs. I love his story. He's a medical doctor, but he had stage 4 lymphoma, and he decided not to do a surgery or chemo, and he strictly went through prayer and meditation and was able to completely get rid of it. They were telling him he needs a bone marrow transplant, and he heard God say, no, you don't. And he trusted that. And he's got an incredible story of how he healed himself through prayer, meditation, and how you can do it, right? And I just think of so many people like Flynn Anderson, who shares his story of recovery. And now he runs a whole organization to help other people that are struggling with addiction, and the families that love them, to help them save their lives and prevent anything from happening where, as if you're working with an addict, your worst fear is that they're going to overdose, or that something bad is going to happen to them. And so there's so many different things. I mean, overcoming cancer. We've talked about abuse. People who've overcome losing children, losing family members. We have one person in here who lost 8 children, and still had the courage to keep going, and then went through even more things after that. Like, we don't know what we can do until we have to. And these stories are so inspiring and full of hope. So no matter what you're going through in life, I want you to use this as a resource of what is possible, as just being a human, and what is possible when you believe that you're meant for more, right? And one of the most important things I found, it's kind of a fun thing that I've been doing with this book, is graduation. I'll go to graduation parties, and I will have, there's like, there's extra pages in here, like in the back, there's empty pages, right? And there's a few different ones that we specifically left like that so that people can put in a little word of wisdom for the graduate, like a little bit of advice or a short story or a special memory about this person. So when they go off to school or they're adults kind of trying to transition, they're very vulnerable, they're impressionable, they're trying to figure out life, they feel alone for the first time in their lives, they can pick up this book and not only immediately know how much they're loved and revered by their friends and family, but feel that warmth and love and read those words of encouragement. But they also get a chance to find out about specific resources with something they may be struggling with that they're not going to share with other people because it's so private. And sometimes our pain and our suffering is, we're so alone in the journey, right? Sometimes it's just us and God and no one else knows because we have shame to share that. But when you start to share your truth and you talk openly, like we are here, about all of these things that we're not perfect and we made dumb mistakes, or we made wrong decisions, or we ended up over here when we wanted to go here. How did we pull ourselves out of that hole and get back on track? And more importantly, how did we turn that into something that becomes not only a way to make impact, but showing people how to turn their mess and turn it into a message, to turn, their mess into a mission, right? To turn their pain into purpose. And Amber, you've been a big part of that. What advice would you give to people who want to share their story? Maybe they want to share a story in one of our books, or maybe they want to write their own book and share their story. And they're just kind of saying, who would read my story? Or how do I know people would care about what I want to say? Like, what advice would you give to people who want to share their story?
I would say people have a desire to share their story, and then they become quickly intimidated and they start to get imposter syndrome, like, oh, who's going to read my story? Or I don't have anything to say. I would say, no, you absolutely have something to say. You've been taken through the life experiences that you have for a reason. There's something that you have to teach others that nobody else on this earth can do, only because no one has walked the exact steps that you have walked. So if you have it in your heart to share your story, be bold, know that you have a message, know that it will help somebody. And don't be shy, and just get it on paper. The first thing I think is just getting it out. Don't people just sit on it because they think writing a book is so difficult. And it really, yes, there's a process, there's a method, there's a way to do it. But the most important thing is to get your message on paper, and then, you can tweak it at that point. But just the best day to do something that you've always wanted to do is, what do they say? The best time to plant a tree is 25 years ago. If not, it's today.
Right. The next best day is today. And the thing is, and thank you for sharing that, and so many people, they think they have more time, right? And I'm laughing because my dad is 86 years young, and he was a guest on our show last week, and his second book just launched this week. He's already sold quite a few books. He's shocked, like, what? How do people know? Because all the people that bought volume 1 were looking for volume 2. So they were emailing, where's volume 2? So he sent out that link, and now people are just finding it organically as well. He's already written volume 3 and 4 that are also going to be published before the end of the year. So now people have an entire year of these Bible study lessons, which is what his book's about. And it saves people hours of research every week. So every book is a little different. We have cookbooks. We have people that write books about personal development or overcoming tools like bouncing back from divorce. In fact, one of our authors wrote about his second divorce, and we just talked to him yesterday, and he just recently got remarried. So it's like amazing to see his growth and how far he's come in such a short amount of time. So if you're interested in writing a book, you want to learn more about that process, we can certainly help you. We'd love to share your story and show you how to get it out in the world, and more importantly, how to get it finished very quickly, like in the next 8 weeks. So you can go to mydefiningmoments.com, which is our website. We help people not only write a book, but become a best-selling author. If you're a business owner and you want to learn how to grow your business, where you write a book as an area of expertise or authority, maybe you want to get funding, or you want to grow your platform or build a franchise. This is a great way to get more information out there to people And instantly you can grow your fan base and become a global expert. We can show you how to do it in a matter of months, not years, because the whole world is connected now. And thank you, COVID, right? That was the one good thing that came from COVID, is we all got a lot closer. The whole world had one common enemy.
Mhm.
And I think that it's created so many great opportunities I mean, more so than any other time in history, right? Think about this. The books that we're reading, and put in the chat, if you will, the books that changed your life, right? Think about the books that have made a difference. For me, it was Dale Carnegie and some of those books. Did you know that book came out almost 100 years ago? 100 years ago. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon. So we're still trying to figure these things out. And the one thing that every single book that's ever been published, you know what that thing is in common, that every single book that's ever been published is it always outlives the author.
Mhm.
Isn't that cool? So not only can you build residual monthly income for the rest of your life, like my dad's doing at 86 right now. It's funny. He's like, I didn't even know I sold that many. He's not tracking it. It's just like, it just becomes income, and he's donating all that money to his church. So he goes and looks at the reports and he's like, wow, and he's not doing a lot of marketing or promotions. It's just, it's like he wrote the book that he knew that people wanted to buy. He solved a problem for people, for an audience. There were 14,000 people every month searching for Bible study books. That's how he knew he wanted to write those books versus Little League Baseball that he's coached for 50 years or being an attorney for 50 years. So this is what we do, is we help you research, what do people want? What should you write about? What are you most comfortable writing about? Whether it's a memoir or a cookbook or a children's book, and how to get it done quickly with the right resources so it's professional and profitable. So we just want to say thank you guys so much for being here today. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us as well. I'm going to go ahead and put the book links up here at the same time. And don't forget to go join our group and start your own free profile and be connected. We talked to Tanya a little bit earlier today. Let me put this in the chats here. This is our links for the book. You can also search for them on Amazon. Let's see if I can post it in here without messing it up. There it is. Sometimes these links are a little wonky in here, but if you search for Melanie Warner books on Amazon, you will find all of my books, and also a couple of our others that we have written. I've got another book that's coming out on August 31st. And it's kind of cool because that's my son's birthday. He would have been 17 years old. It's crazy to think. So for me, that's how I honor him, is every year I release another book on his birthday. That is something that we've researched that I know that people really need. So I'm excited to announce that. And we've got a few other authors that have books that are going to be launching that day and celebrating Carson at the same time. So thank you all for being here. I know we're getting a little bit over our time, so we'll let y'all go. But thanks for joining us. Amber, thank you for being here, and Tanya as well earlier. Thank all of you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. You can also visit mydefiningmoments.com if you want more information on how we can help you get your story out there in the world. And please subscribe and help us build our channel and share it with people who need these resources. So thank you again for being here, everyone. Thank you, Amber. And you all have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Bye,
Take care,
everybody.
everyone. Bye.
Take care. Bye.